Ed Showers.
Yeah, the man.
You know, I let any and everybody know. That's who I grew up sitting next to on the organ, you know, messing around with the Leslie switch. I knew it got on his nerves. He never said anything, but I knew it had to get on his nerves. Always flicking the Leslie switch, but sitting on the organ, you know, in district meetings, state meetings, coming to my church, fellowshipping. You know, I've watched and learned so much from Ed growing up. And then, of course, Cornell Thickpen.
Yeah.
You know, grew up with him. You know, he showed me another sound that I think I could never probably hear or will hear probably from nowhere else.
Wow.
So those were pretty much the main two people that I grew up just like that was always in my ear.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of cats that I run into, you know, when I travel a lot, they be like, man, you know, I wish I had somebody that I was able to grow up like, you know, and listen to like that, you know, but of course this is a YouTube era right now, but
Absolutely.
having that hands-on experience where, you know, they'll be able to be like, no, you shouldn't do this or that. And of course then it was Percy Beatty. You know, Percy Beatty wasn't in our jurisdiction of church, but I grew up under Percy Beatty. Percy Beatty opened up pretty much almost every door that I've been able to, you know, be involved in and walk through. So, oh yeah, Percy introduced me, you know, to the whole studio, the whole Logic and, you know, Pro Tools, all of that, ins and out as far as recording, you know, whether it be choirs or solo artists, and mainly producing songs, setting up songs, intros, verses, choruses, bridges, just setting up a conversation just with everything happening music-wise. You know, I've learned all that from Percy. I actually played my first major recording with Percy.
Wow.
It was Grace and Mercy with Marvin Sapp.
That recording was crazy.
So, you know, you got Richard Gibbs on organ, Ray Beatty on drums, Steve Huff on bass, Al Willis on guitar, Percy Beatty on Rhodes, and they let me play piano.
Let's talk about Bishop Ford for a minute. Do you remember him?
I'll never forget Bishop Ford. Bishop Ford was the presiding bishop. Well, first he was our jurisdictional bishop.
Yeah.
You know, there was Bishop J.L. Patterson, who was the presiding bishop over all of the churches of God in Christ. So, you know, being in the church, you know, my dad being strongly involved, you know, we went to a lot of state meetings. You know, I never forget, you know, state meetings at his church, St. Paul, off of 45th and Wabash.
Yes,
You know, and then of course, you know, we had the tent meetings.
Oh,
I'll never forget the tent meetings. That used to be like the biggest thing for me.
Talk about it.
Tent meetings, you know, gearing up for rehearsals, you know, like weeks before choir, they had like 1,000-voice choir.
Yeah.
You know, and this is way before social media and stuff hit. So, you know, we didn't have no cell phones,
Right.
you know. So this is what we knew, just going to rehearsals, getting ready for church, getting my suits ready for the week, you know, make sure everything was clean, you know, knowing my material because I was playing piano. Of course, they had to keep, keyboards wasn't really the main instrument in churches, you know, in the churches of God in Christ back then. Of course, it was the organ, and Ed always held that down. But, you know, I was privy to play the piano, you know. But this was before, you know, of course, like I said, cell phones. So, you know, you seeing like all of the girls there and everything, you writing numbers on pieces of paper, hoping to see the girl the next night, stuff like that. You know, that classic moments that I'll never forget that, you know, I can just share with myself sometimes, you know, and other people that might be able to relate with me, like you.
Right,
So,
exactly.
but those experiences that I can never forget. You know, the Spirit moved mightily in those services. You know, we always seen miracles and stuff like that happen. Of course, all of the people that came through because of Bishop Ford, you know, Bishop J.L. Patterson coming to speak, you know, a lot of other bishops from all across the country and stuff like that. But that was a lot of grounding work for me there also, you know, coming under Lavanya Whitley.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
Lavanya Whitley didn't play when it comes to the choir. You had to know your thing. If you was finna sit on that stage, on that wooden stage that they done built, you had to know what you was doing. And I appreciate them trusting me, you know, to play a pivotal point, you know, in all of that era, You know, it's still what it is today, but it'll never be like it was.
Nah, I can't.
You know, she took me to a lot of these churches, like right before the national convention, and you know, she would, you know, teach songs. You know, her song, especially, she would teach the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer was always the first song that the choir would sing before the service started.
Right.
I mean, even today. So I got the chance to travel with Lavanya and Willie, you know, and I was young. I mean, flying to all these places.
How old were you?
I was right out of high school, man, like 19, 20, traveling, you know. And this was before, you know, I knew anything about stacking my miles and stuff like that, man. We was driving. Lavanya had me driving. We was driving to Detroit and Memphis and stuff like that. I got Lavanya Willie laid out in the back of my truck. She's sleeping. I'm sitting up here driving. You couldn't get into St. James on a Sunday night sometime.
No, that was a moment in history, man.
Yeah, so, you know, I ended up building that relationship with Bishop Campbell. You know, I allowed me to travel with him. You know, I got so much word from him traveling. I missed that, you know. He would preach.
Yeah.
You know, and that not just me sitting up playing with him, but I listened a lot. You know, he always had a good word for the people.
Absolutely.
So I was with Bishop Campbell for a while. Funny story, this is how, you know, this leads up. I was overseas with him. We was in London. He was preaching out there. And I don't know if you remember the sidekicks. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had a sidekick, and then I got this message while I was over there like, yo, Rob, what's up, man? R. Kelly looking for you. I was like, what? I'm sitting there, I'm like, what is this? So I ain't paid too much attention to it. So, you know, we did, you know, the services that we was out there to play. And we flew back home, you know, and then I got a few other calls, and they was like, yo, man, Rob's looking for you. And I was like, so I hit Percy up. Percy had told me what was going on. You know, him and Percy and Ray was with Rob for a long time, and I think Percy was about to go out and do something else. So Rob had needed somebody that would be able to hold down main keys.
Yeah.
So Percy told him, you know, well, you know, I got my little brother Rodney. He's more than capable to do that. So Percy opened up that door for me. So it's so much of a transition that happened. You know, I'm going from playing at church every Sunday. Now I'm about to go out here on this tour, which was like, the tour was like, I think we was out for like about 8 months. It's me, Lil Tony, Calvin, Kendall Nesbitt, and Donnie Lau.
Yes, sir.
So we out in Orlando rehearsing for 3 months. That's actually how I first started growing my braids. Because if anybody knew me back in the day, knew that I kept a tight afro.
Yes, it was.
So
perfect.
Larry been cutting my hair since I was like, Larry Roberts been cutting my hair since I was about 16 to 17.
Been cutting everybody's hair.
I mean, sitting in front of Larry's barbershop out in, off Lincoln Highway when he had his barbershop. I was sitting there. I know me and Marlon would go sit out there in the parking lot at like about 3 o'clock in the morning, so we could be the first one.
Yeah.
So Larry would always cut my hair, so I couldn't trust anybody else to be cutting my hair, so that's why I ended up started growing my hair.
Wow.
I'm out here in Orlando for 3 months. I ain't got nobody. I don't know nobody I can call like, yo, I need somebody to just, no. So that's how I ended up growing my hair. I never forget it. After the 3 months of rehearsal, Rob sent everybody home, you know, before we went out on the tour. Yeah. But Rob was also working studio out there.
Oh, no.
So he asked me to stay.
Nice.
And that's where that relationship came from, where I was doing studio work for Rob. You know, he sent everybody home put them on retainer. Retainer is an unknown word today right now. It's a forbidden word in the music industry. Well, for some people. Yeah. But I never forget, you know, I was still on retainer, but he was still giving me weekly extra for doing studio work.
Nice.
So that's where I first started doing studio. I never forget. So I had somebody out there braid me up. And when I finally went home, I was able to come home for like a couple of days before we started the tour. I'll never forget it, man.
I know you won't.
I was in the gas station getting gas over by my parents' house. My mom drove around the corner. She was getting some gas too. She pulled up and saw me and saw my braids. She started crying. She was like, "Who are you?" My first album that I did with Rob was The Chocolate Factory.
Jeez. Yeah.
So, I never forget it, man. When working on that whole album, when it came out, Percy gave me a call. He said the guys from over at in LA, the Underdogs.
Yeah.
They called Percy and they was like, "Yo, man, who is this cat playing these keys on Rob's album? I know this ain't R. Kelly. Who is this dude playing this music?" And Percy was like, "That's my little brother Rodney, man, Rodney East." So that was like a whole blast off from like sitting and driving somewhere and then just like pulling up to somebody's car, hearing people play this song, and that's you, that's me, like wow. Through Rob, I was able to meet everybody because everybody was working with Rob. Everybody, Whitney Houston, Janet Jackson, Ron Isley. Charlie Wilson. The first album that I worked on with Charlie Wilson was, Charlie first name, last name Wilson, of course,
There.
So.
Yeah. Trapped in the Closet, man.
Trapped in the Closet. That all started one day. We was in the studio. I'll never forget it. Rob was like, "Hey, Rodney, play me some offering music, some altar call music." That was his thing, like to just try to get me to like just kind of play some kind of whatever. I was playing some stuff, and then I did this one little lick. I was like, "Dun, dun, 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 dun." He was like, "Do that again." I was like, "Dun, dun, 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 dun." And then he was like, "Repeat that." He got on the MPC and started his little thing, and that's how that song was born. That's it. Boom. That was it.
Oh man. So
now a lot of people don't know. Some of the sound effects, that's me too.
Really?
Like when I first started working with Rob, there was this water drop that he would use like on a lot of his stuff. That was me. I was, so
wow.
he had me go in the booth and sample, record that, and the engineers got it and sampled it, so put it on the MPC pad. So that was that. And in the period of time that I, was with Rob, I was able to do Jamie Foxx. Lil Tony had got me on that situation.
Yeah.
So I was able to go out and do that tour.
How was that, man?
That was amazing,
How did Jamie like you, man? Because he's a real musical.
Oh yeah, we vibe immediately. He plays the piano himself. He had a studio in his house. We would go to this house and do some stuff. Me and Tony, we would do work, do some stuff in the studio and everything. I was able to put his whole show together. Travel with him. That was my first time flying on a private jet with him. That was my first private jet experience with that.
Wow.
I remember us getting on a private jet. We going to Nashville. He was doing something with Rascal Flatts. So,
wow.
I was able to walk in a lot of doors that a lot of people would not be able to walk into. And if I could tell anybody, relationship is important, man.
Absolutely.
I'm not no starstruck person. I'm like, wow, that's them. That's such and such. But I ain't gonna be like, "Hey man, hey, how you doing, Rodney? Let's take a picture." That ain't me. I'm not that dude. I'm not going. Any artist that I work with, they know I'm not finna always be, like, "Man, I need you to do this. I need you to do that." I would rather them come like, "Man, Rodney, I appreciate the work that you did, man. Give me a call if you ever want to do some stuff or ever want to work together on something else." I'd rather that call. I would rather that than for them to see me coming like, "Oh, here come that nigga. He finna ask me for something, man. Here come Rodney, y'all. Don't say nothing about what we got going on, y'all.
Yeah.
Hey, man, what's going on? You finished that part in the studio? Okay, yeah, okay."
Wow.
But it's all about relationships, man, and just knowing your environment and knowing who you're around, knowing what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say, what to hear, what not to hear.
Yeah.
You know, you just almost kind of got to be there but not be there, if that makes sense. That might fly over a lot of people's heads, man, but you want to be invited in the room other than being told, hey, step out for a second.
Yeah.
You know, and I hope a lot of people get that, what I just said. You know, you want to be asked, hey, sit right here for a second, other than be said, hey, step out for a second. Yeah. You know, if you ever watched The Godfather, in any one of those movies, you always saw everybody was whispering something in the air to anybody and everybody. It was just so secretive, you know, or either like, step out for a second, we need to talk about something, you know, but. Let me tell you something, man. A lot of these songs, man, were birthed from off a tour. You know, we would do a tour, and of course, Rob had me in the studio. Rob is an interlude type of guy.
Yeah.
Like, he'll do one song, and then he like, okay, I need a segue right there to go from this song to this song. Or we'll like remix this at the end, you know. Come up with some interludes, and next thing you know, we sitting up, you know, after the tour's over, we'll probably be sitting in the studio watching the tour, and he'd be like, hey man, let's revisit that interlude. We go back in the thing. All of a sudden, this interlude turns into Sex in the Kitchen, and that's going on the next album. Wow. You know, we got an album full of interludes that turned into songs. Wow. So, you know, me and Rob, it's like almost hand in glove. You know, he would hum a melody, and I would pick it up immediately, add my few adjustments or whatever, and it would turn into a song. You know, I vibe real well with Rob. You know, I vibe well with anybody. But me and Rob, we had a real good chill as far as like creativity to its best. I've learned so much being in the studio with Rob. Like a lot of chords that I probably might think, it's like, man, let's do this chord. He'd be like, no, it should be like, you know, he used to call like a lot of the stuff like he called them my grace notes, you know, and like a instead of playing, he'd be like, just give me instead of doing. So, you know, I learned a lot from him, man, as far as like even with like vocal, like, you know, how Rob in the studio is like something I've never seen. He don't write anything down. He creates it right there on the spot. Wow. Songs, full songs, create it right there. We'll create the track. He'll do a drum loop, go back, I'll structure it, and he's in the booth, and he's writing the song right there. Hour later, song is done. Engineer is like tweaking vocals, tweaking, mixing this and that. Song is done.
Wow. Isley Brothers, man, tell us a little bit about that. You know, how did that come about?
Relationship with Rob, you know, working on Isley Brothers album. Ron being in the studio. Me and Ron built a relationship from there. He was like, man, I like you, man. I'm gonna take you out on tour with me, man. So, you know, sitting up having Ron Isley's number in my phone is beyond me, you know. So being on stage with Ron and Ernie Isley, playing these iconic songs that last for decades, sitting up watching thousands of people sing along. It's like you can't beat those moments. One of the biggest audiences that I've played in front of was with the Isley Brothers. Wow. We did a festival out in Canada. It was the Rolling Stones. Wow. So he had a whole bunch of acts on this. The Rolling Stones had a whole bunch of acts on this tour. They had like Justin Timberlake, a whole bunch of, I think Usher was on there. Everybody was on there. This crowd had to be about 1 million plus people, man. Wow. 1 million plus people. And what was funny is like the Rolling Stones, they had private jets fly them in. So we was sitting up there at this park, because it couldn't have been on the arena. It was a park. We was at some park. And all of a sudden you see these jets flying by. They were like, oh, the Rolling Stones have just made their entrance. I was like, are you kidding me? Wow. So that had to be the biggest stage that I've played in front of ever. It's like a sea of people, man, and you got all of them, and then of course Ron closed out his song with Shout.
Wait, talk about that.
So you got 1 million plus people. Just it's like a sea of people just rocking back and forth. You make me wanna shout, hands up and shout. You just like it's like almost a network of people. Everybody's on the same page. The energy is crazy. You got these big beach volleyballs going all over the place. You know, fireworks is going crazy. You know, the crowd, everybody, and then Ernie over there just going crazy on the guitar, man. Experiences like that, man, it humbles you. You know, you sit back and you like, God, I thank you for the gift that you've given me. Yolanda Adams.
Please take your time.
Oh, well, I mean, the story continues. So, I got the call to do a date with Yo, and it's just safe to say after I got that call, I was there. So, being able to play, I was on stage with Anthony Harmon.
Oh, man.
An amazing lefty bass player. Quinn. You know, you got Al Willis on guitar. So Yolanda has been a big sister, you know, to me for a long time. I was able to work on Grammy-nominated, Grammy Award, platinum, millions of albums sold, you know, albums on her, you know, through Percy.
Yeah.
It's like all of these connections and relationships, you know, they don't just happen just to be happening. You got to be careful in the areas that you sit on, and you be thankful also because, you know, God don't have to give you these opportunities. Yeah. You know, I worked on Yolanda's Mountain High Valley Low, you know, Song of Hymns, you know, with Percy, with her. And through that, you know, we was able to build a relationship with there. Yolanda would bring me out, do all of these dates, you know, to the point, you know, recently, a couple of years ago, you know, she got a call to do SpongeBob.
Wow.
She got a call to do a song on SpongeBob, the Broadway play. They was doing it in New York. So, of course, she called me. And I'll never forget it. I got the voice note of the song. You know, she sang, gave me the idea. I went down in the studio, you know, laced the idea up with what she was trying to do, sent it back to her. She was in disbelief. I came back, I put all of the bells and whistles on it, put vocals on it, sent it to the people. The people at SpongeBob was going crazy. They said, this is exactly what we needed.
Wow.
To the point where it was the closing song going into intermission. And then it was also the closing song at the end of the Broadway play.
Wow.
So
that's huge.
And not only that, we was nominated for a Tony.
Wow.
We were Tony nominated for that album. You know, me and Yolanda, we went to, Yolanda brought me down to the Tony Awards. You know, we got all dressed up. We walked the red carpet, you know, and it was an amazing night. You know, of course we didn't win, but, you know, to just have a Tony nomination, I think that was big, you know. So I appreciate that opportunity with that.
My brother.
My man, Sharay.
For real. Oh, man. Yeah, all that.